Hello everyone, it's Joseph from your boy Jet Black Phone Only here with another exciting live stream. In today's video, I am going to be talking about August 25th, 26th, August 26th, 2019. So today I did work, as I always do. Um, got a good amount done. I still have more to go. Let's see. But I definitely know that I'll be more than ready for my presentation this Friday. Um, Besides work, I've been working on the final story of Superpower Battles Volume 7. I should be submitting Volume 7 for publishing later tonight. I just need to finish up that story. Mm. I've been messaging with Beth throughout the day. Seems like she's having a pretty good day today, which is always good to hear. Um, I watched the first 2.5 episodes of Adam Action Teens on Machines. It's an old JetX show that I never really watched as a kid. But the show seems to have a good amount of action to it. But like I said, I just never heard of it before. I'm not sure if I really vibe with it. It's a show that kind of advertises itself as being like a team show, but instead of it really being a team show, it focuses on like one guy, and then the rest of the team is kind of just there. They use them for jokes, and sometimes they're helpful, but they just kind of exist. Then Kel said, Jet, you're 3 minutes early. Stop the stream and stick to the schedule. Yo, Kels, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Kels, how do you feel about shows that are set up where it seems like it'll be about a team, like a group of people working together, but in the end, there truly is like one main character? Like, it's not actually really a team show, it's one guy kind of pulling the weight, and then there are other people who are just kind of like around, like a posse. Yo, Godzilla, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Right now we have 2 viewers and 0 likes. Godzilla, I'll ask you the same question I asked Kels. What do you think about shows that are set up, or stories in general, that are set up like team stories, where it's like a group of people working together, but when you actually watch the show or read the story, you realize that it's more or less just one guy pulling the weight, and then the other characters who are on the team are just kind of like supporting cast or like comedic relief, where they don't really do anything. I noticed that a lot of times there are plenty of stories that kind of do the opposite. For example, Harry Potter. Um, Harry is a part of a team, but in the end, Harry's not the one carrying the team. It's like Hermione. Um, Stuff like that happens quite often. But whenever it's advertised as a team thing, but then it's one person carrying the weight, and you can tell that truly it's just one main character, I think it's kind of weird. Let's see. Kel said, yeah, those shows aren't the best. That's actually a problem that I'll have to avoid in Poker Game, um, since it's technically a sports manga. How do you feel like you're going to counteract that problem? I typically don't write a lot of stuff that's based in teams of people, so I don't have a lot of experience with that in particular. Then Godzilla said, no, I think. So is that you saying no, you don't know of any shows that are like that, or stories? I brought that up because I was talking about Action Teens on Machines, aka Adam, which is a show that I watched the first 3 seasons of. Not the first 3 seasons of, my goodness. First 3 episodes of season 2 about. Uh, wow, I'm not speaking English. Watched the first 2.5 episodes of season 2 of that show. And it seems to be that kind of thing, where there's clearly one main character, but the show acts like, oh, it's a team thing, but it really isn't. Godzilla says, no, I don't know any shows/stories like that. Well, Adam is one of them. And I can't necessarily say that Adam is a bad show. It just feels weird, because you can tell that the way that the show sets itself up is that you're supposed to see each of the characters being like unique and having their own personality, but they really don't do anything. Godzilla said, "What's Atom?" So it's Atom, ATOM, Action Teens on Machines. It's a group of teenagers who each have their own super vehicle, and they go on adventures together. In season two, they're fighting off against clone versions of themselves who are half human, half animal. So each of them has a clone counterpart that they're trying to defeat. But really, there's only one main dude, and he's fighting them. And sometimes the other team members hop in whenever he's like about to lose, but then they don't really win the fight. They just kind of give the main guy enough time to like catch his breath, and then he goes in and then he finishes the fight, which I think is really weird. There's nothing that I've seen so far in the show to indicate that he's more powerful than the other people or anything like that. But he seems to be the only character who has a real goal. Um, and he also seems to be the only character who really ever does anything, which I think is weird. Let's see. Matt said 3 minutes early is better than 8 minutes late. I approve. Yo, Matt, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Godzilla said Adam. He corrected to the thing from before. Matt said Adam is a bad Ruby villain. I don't really know of a good Ruby villain, but I'm not a fan of Ruby, and that's entirely subjective. That's just my opinion. Kel said, I think I'll have the main character support the other characters and their abilities, and I'll have him do his super duper cool kid stuff in solo fights. Okay, so you feel like you're only going to really highlight him to his fullest when he's in a solo scenario. Um, I guess I would kind of like to see a character who's always going at their best, but when they're with a group of people, their best is just different. You know, I imagine that a character can always do their coolest stuff, but in a team setting, they might use it in a different way in order to help complement the others. You know what I mean? I also feel like characters normally have weaknesses or limitations that their teammates can help fill in the gaps for. So I don't think it's a thing where you have to nerf your character when they're in team settings and then let them cut loose when they're solo. I feel like you could have them always go as hard as possible. It's just what going as hard as possible really means depends on the situation. Let's see. Then Matt said, no, no, no. That's Matt reacting to my normal questions that I ask whenever someone jumps onto the stream. Godzilla said, what do you mean, no? Then Matt said, but that makes it seem like the main character is normally not the main character, meaning why is he the main character? Then Matt said, preemptive no's are for questions that Jet needs to stop asking. Then Matt said, Torchwick was a good villain. I felt like Ruby liked to set up villains really hard. So you have like higher expectations for when they use them, and then they use the villains, and then you don't care. You're like, wow, there was like a lot of buildup for like really nothing to happen. At least that's my opinion. I just felt like season one set up the redhead dude or whatever as like the next villain, and then I was like, okay. And then I watched season two, and I'm like, he really didn't do anything. I really thought that they were like building him up for something, but then nothing, in my opinion, really came out of it. Um, let's see. Godzilla said, okay. He said, I should make a villain that anyone could put in a story. So there actually are plenty of characters like that that exist. So a lot of people are familiar with public domain. Public domain is where you've created some sort of published work that eventually the copyright for it runs out. There's like a time limit on how long copyrights last. And once that time limit runs out, anybody can use characters, settings, ideas from those published works into their own stories. That's why you see so many Robin Hood movies and why you see Sherlock Holmes thrown around a lot. But there's also open source, which I don't think people are as aware of for whatever reason. But you can create a character and then without waiting for copyright to expire, you can just be like, oh, I just don't claim it. You can just be like, I've made this specifically for anybody to use in anything, and you can just do that. Um, and that's like actually a pretty cool thing. Where are we at? So then I missed something in the chat. I gotta scroll up. Let's see. Matt said Torchwick was a disappointment mainly because he just died. It's kind of like he didn't do anything. Godzilla said a name, Kurgerbang, Burger King, backwards. I don't really think that's what backwards means. You just kind of swap the letters, but I understand. What does he do? Matt said Torchwick at least had presence up until his death. It, did you essentially just say at least he was there until he died? Godzilla said, yeah, this is in the public domain. He said Kurger Bing is going to be a company. Then he said, yeah, a company. Matt said the problem is that the spirit of the character can be lost when placed into the masses' hands. I feel like it could also be built upon. You know, just because a character is openly available for everyone to use doesn't mean that that character can't be made, oh, improved. There we go. That's the better word. I was trying to figure out what is a good way to say it. It doesn't mean that a character can't be improved when used by future authors. You know what I mean? Um, because there are plenty of characters that I feel like we've read the stories of and heard retellings of their stories, but we've actually never like read or heard the original. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. I just feel like in many cases when things become public domain, the popular version of said thing ends up being a later iteration rather than just the original. You know what I mean? So I think once things become public domain, if anything, I think they eventually just improve over time as different people work on them. So where are we at? Godzilla said they try to kill everything. Then Kel said, "Do you mean like a skeleton for a good villain, or a full blown character?" Um, you can do either one if you want. Then Godzilla said, "Okay, done. Villain created." He said, "No, I swapped letters. I'm dumb." Oh, you're fine, dude. So Kurger Bing is a company that you created, a fictional company that their goal is to try and kill everyone. How do they try to kill everyone? I guess that would be my question. Matt said, "I'm glad we spent all this time developing this well-designed villains. I'm glad you spent all that time using proper grammar in that sentence." Uh, Godzilla said, "Okay, it's the best villain ever." I'd like to know a little bit more about Kurger Bing. Like, how does Kurger Bing plan to just kill everybody? Matt said, also, I meant that Torchwick is an interesting villain who does accomplish things until he is anticlimactically killed for no reason. What would you say are Torchwick's greatest accomplishments? Like, what do you feel like he really did? And what was his end goal? Like, what was he trying to do? And how close do you feel like he got to achieving said goal? Godzilla said they do that by eating rocks and everything ever. Kurger Bing uses their terrible Kurgers burgers to kill people. Why do they eat rocks? Originally, it seemed like you were saying Kurger King eats everything. Kurger Bing eats everything. And that's how they were gonna kill everyone. I thought you were just gonna be like they're like cannibals, but they also eat like dirt and other stuff. But then you were like, but it's the burgers that actually kills everyone. So they're how do the burgers kill them? Then Godzilla said they kill people different ways. Okay, so they have a variety of ways. So they eat everything they can, but they also feed people burgers. And then Godzilla said the Kurgers taste bad. So are they poisonous? Do they have like toxic things in them? Are they not really like suitable for Godzilla says so they die. So they die just because it tastes bad? Like the burgers taste so bad that people die from it. I'm curious if that's a thing. Uh, then Godzilla said, "This is a dumb villain." So it is such a thing for people to die of shock. So maybe if a burger was so bad and you were caught off guard by how bad it was, like you didn't expect it to be as bad as it really was, you just died, I think that'd be impressive. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. But it seems maybe possible. Godzilla said they die of disgusting. You described disgusting, well, I guess disgust as if it was like a disease or something. Matt said He was gathering, well, he was getting dust gathered, which would matter if dust was actually given importance beyond the first season. He seemed somewhat tech savvy with his weapons and the mech suit he stole. So he was gathering dust, which is a resource in Ruby that can be used to power weapons with different elements. But what was he gathering the dust for? Godzilla said, "What is Ruby?" Ruby is a show that I don't like that Matt got me to watch a whole bunch of, but I'm not a fan of it. Volume 3 is pretty good though, and Volume 1 is tolerable. It's a show made by Rooster Teeth. Um, it's a CGI animated show. Um, from what I can tell, the production quality gets better, I guess, the farther you watch through it. And it's a thing. Matt said Neo was his main minion and could be in a similar scenario to how Harley is to Joker. What? But I guess my current thought process, Matt, is what was that in reference to? The Neo thing. I don't even know who Neo is. Uh, but what was he trying to use the dust for, Matt? That was my question about Torchwick. But yeah, Ruby to me just isn't that good of a show. If you guys have any questions about Ruby, like any like specific questions, I'll let you know. Then Matt said, Jet, everything has a due process. Did you mean to say everything has a due process? Because I can just Google due process, but I just feel like that's not necessarily what you meant to say. Maybe it was. Fair treatment through the normal judicial system, especially as a citizen's entitlement. Are you sure that's what you meant? Because that's actually the only definition that comes up when you Google it, and Google pulls its results from Oxford in this case, the Oxford Dictionary. Everything has a fair treatment through the normal judicial system, especially as a citizen's entitlement. I don't think that's what you meant. Matt said, I have to answer all these things and think about how to answer things properly. That just sounds like how a Q&A works. Just how you normally do questions and answers. By the way, this isn't Mountainberry. This is blue raspberry cherry, which I did not expect, but it was pretty good. I like it. Godzilla said Kurger Bing was a joke. I'm gonna make a real villain. Interesting. So, what are your ideas for your real villain? Matt said Ruby is good up until Volume 5. I'd say Volume 1's okay. Volume 2 was weak. Excuse me, I expected more based off of what they were building up in Volume 1. Volume 3 was a surprising banger, except the ending of Volume 3. I'd say the ending of Volume 3 felt like an ass pull, and I was not a fan of it. Um, Volume 4, they were like, what if we took like some of the best characters and we made them kind of the focus of the volume, but then we threw in one of the main characters who Jet doesn't care about, and we kind of ruined the volume. And also, we start telling stories about the other main characters that Jet doesn't care about. And then we just kind of make the volume just more mad than anything else. And then I stopped watching after that. I didn't need any more Ruby in my life. Let's see, Matt said, although it is shaky for the first two volumes, I'd say volume 1 is totally fine for what it is. As like a start to a series, I didn't expect volume 1 to be super crazy. And I feel like it does what it needs to do as an introductory volume. I just really wish that volume 2 actually lived up to the hype that was built in volume 1. Volume 3, I would have preferred if it just ended on a stronger note. Volume 4, I wish they would have just changed the main characters just entirely. They should have stuck with being like it's about Juniper now. Fuck like the normal team, and I think Volume 4 would have been good. And then I didn't stick around for Volume 5. Godzilla said, "How about a demonic entity from the Earth?" When you say from the Earth, are you talking about like a subterranean demon kind of thing? Then Kel said, "Jet, what's an average day at your job like?" Oh, well, that's easy. I start work at 9 a.m. I work in this room, in this chair. I have two laptops here. My work laptop, and I have the laptop that I'm using right now for like YouTube and stuff like that. I have a monitor, and I connect my like fun laptop, this one, to the monitor, and then on the monitor I have stuff like YouTube videos playing. I have a tab open to where I can see if like Beth sends me a message, but I don't really message with Beth during work, so it's more me receiving messages from her and just being able to check in with her kind of thing. Uh, if I happen to have time during the day, and then I have just links for work stuff on the main laptop screen so that I can refer to like coding tutorials or check out like messages that I've received from coworkers and stuff on this screen. And then on my work laptop, I have the actual programs I'm working on and coding. Um, and it's mainly just me coding throughout the day. I'm given a very general description of what I'm supposed to be making and what it's supposed to do, and then from that, I try my best to make whatever they ask me to, and I get to set my objectives, like what I want to do each day. I get to set really what I present as well now. I used to not have as much freedom. The first few weeks that I worked in my current job, it was like, here's what you're gonna do and here's what you're gonna present. Now they're like, here's like a really big project. You just get to parse out what you want to do and you do it at your own pace and you just present whenever and just let us know what you're gonna present. So far, my job's been pretty fun. But an average day is I start work at 9 a.m. And then I finish work at 5. I only eat once a day, and I eat before work, so I don't take a lunch break or anything. I just kind of keep working until like the day is done. That's about it. Um, it's a lot of looking at tutorials and stuff. So whenever I have to solve a coding problem that I either have only solved a few times in the past or I've just never encountered, I just have to look up tutorials. That's pretty much it. And then learn how to apply what I've learned within the bigger project that I've made. But it's a lot of learning, and it's really fun. I actually really enjoy what I do. But yeah, cool work question. Ryan asked a work question the other day, but I didn't really know how to answer his question because it was too broad. I didn't know what element to focus on of his question. I didn't want to just ramble. But I hope that was a satisfying answer, Kels. Matt said the issue for Torchwick becomes that he was gaining supplies for a massive takeover of Beacon in Season 1, but we don't get to that takeover until Season 3, and by that point, Torchwick is just a henchman and then just dies. So essentially, they build up a character who you think is going to be like a big bad, but then it is later revealed that he is just like a side hoe to the big bad and irrelevant. Then Godzilla said, should this demonic entity be like a crocodile or like a goat? I'm voting crocodile, but I don't know. Also, I mean subterranean. Okay. Well, if you're going for subterranean, I think a subterranean goat would be something I haven't really heard of before. For like a, because I've heard of a goat as a demon before, but I guess a subterranean goat, not talking about like hell, but like just under the earth as like a demonic creature, that's kind of different. I feel like you could do something with that. Let's see. Then Matt said, also, Jet keeps thinking a show called Ruby Weiss Blake Yang, should star the character John from Juniper, John Nora Pura Rin. That's because John, in the first season, is definitely given more of a reason to be the main character than Ruby. Ruby kind of pops into the show like, hey, I'm already really good, and I'm very enthusiastic and happy, and I'm just kind of here, and I just go along with the ride. I don't necessarily have like this greater goal or aspiration that I'm trying to work toward. I'm not necessarily trying to like find myself. Where John is like, yeah, I shouldn't be here, but I'm learning and I'm gonna try my best And even though I'm kind of behind the curve from everyone else, I'm like building toward this larger goal and making friends along the way. And I'm kind of the underdog. And I actually have to use my head and think through problems because I don't know what my powers are, while everyone else seems to. And I'm like, wow, John's just a cool ass character. I'm like, wow, it almost seems like he should be the lead, but he isn't. Matt said John is also just a semi-main character presence for most of the series, anyways. So the complaint is very much unfounded. I don't really think it's unfounded. I just think John is a more compelling main character than Ruby. Ruby kind of accidentally solves problems, and she's just ditzy, and it's fine for her to be like happy and energetic, but I consider her character to just be kind of annoying, and she doesn't really have to work for anything. And that's a big reason why I don't like Ruby. Let's see. Then Matt said, what's more, the amount of attention John does get for a show called Ruby is problematic, specifically since John really only gets to actually do so much with his development. If only the show was just about him and he could really just continue to develop and grow at a natural pace. That'd be pretty great. Kel said it was a satisfactory answer. 10 out of 10. Oh, thank you kindly, Kel. Truly appreciate it. Kel said if you're making a villain for any story, then you should have very few details, because the more complicated they are, the harder it is to add to certain stories. So, that depends. That really depends. I would say as long as there's a mechanism for how the villain can exist in multiple stories, then it works. There's a famous character that I'm trying to remember the name of, who's open source character, whose whole thing is like she exists in every and all stories. I didn't say that right. She exists in every story is the idea. So she has like a set base of like abilities, um, and other than that, she's just like an explorer who exists within every story that's ever told. And a lot of times you don't know she's there because she's like a background character. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool concept. But I feel like as long as you set up your villain like that, where they have their own motivations and goals, but for whatever reason they can just exist in all these different worlds, then it just works really well. Let's see. Godzilla said real main characters have no issues. They are immortal and have plot armor. I mean, that's not really true. If your characters aren't being challenged, then it just kind of makes them boring. Matt said, but those traits also have to be instantly recognizable and impactful for the character to be well utilized. Um, what traits? I get lost sometimes when talking to Matt because he'll be referring to something and I'm like, I don't really know what he's referring to. Godzilla said that was a joke. Understandable. Then Matt said, I mean, Goku proves that point. So I mean, um, I do think Dragon Ball has an interesting way of going about setting up challenge and conflict. I do think Goku does legitimately have his back pressed against the wall in many cases. And he has to become incredibly strong in order to overcome all the crazy things that he encounters. Mm. So I don't think Goku is never challenged. I feel like he definitely is. Um, I just feel like the worst moments for Goku, I guess, worst as in like the moments where I think he's least challenged, are probably moments whenever Goku doesn't have a lot of time to prepare. And I guess what I mean by that is whenever Goku is put in a situation where it's like, okay, we're gonna have a character for Goku to fight, but he's only gonna fight him like in this one thing. Normally there's like a movie problem. It's a thing where Goku doesn't have enough time to fight them and lose and then have to go train and get stronger and stronger, and then we get to see how the villain is continually increasing their own power, and then the hero gets to come back, and then like the best parts of Dragon Ball are when he's training to try and overcome a greater threat, And I just feel like in stuff like movies, Goku doesn't have the ability to really do that. So instead of Goku training to become more powerful, he just kind of gets dicked on a little bit, and then he's like, "But I can do my spirit bomb, or I can transform into a greater thing, or I can fuse," and he just kind of solves his problem, um, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But I definitely prefer to see Goku have to train to overcome a threat than to just see Goku be like, "Well, I got beat up, but now I use my big thing. Oh, I got him." I always find that kind of weird. Let's see. Godzilla said, "Oh, I have an idea. It's part dragon or something, like the head of a dragon with the body of a goat." I feel like one of the least intimidating parts of a goat is probably the body. I feel like it's a very imbalanced creature. Matt said, "The maker of that open source character sounds very pretentious." Interesting. Tell me more. Godzilla said, "And claws maybe, so it can dig." What kind of claws? Like the claws of a dragon? Then Matt said, "I don't think we are watching the same show. Like at most, this happens in Dragon Ball, but it never happens in Z." What never happens in Z? What are we referring to? Then Godzilla said, "Okay then. Hmm. Mm. Also, while there's a lull in the chat, I'm gonna reply to some messages from Beth. No rush on the info. Uh, I just would like to know more about the activities that will be held at the party. About, let's see, possibly, I would want, I mean, if it is on a Friday night, I'll probably go. I still would prefer if it had some solid activities. Okay, where are we going? Do 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 do. And not any from I don't know why you feel that way. Okay, so where are we at though? So then, Matt said, "Jet, last thing we were talking about for Dragon Ball, that wasn't even a gap scenario about Goku." So, Matt, are you saying that Goku is never challenged in Dragon Ball Z? Like, ever? Because I can disagree on that, like, pretty hard. The first challenge in Dragon Ball Z, Goku only kind of succeeds. He like dies. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't even start strong. Uh, Goku struggles against Vegeta, but he only beats Vegeta because he trained so hard to beat him. There was like a lot of preparation. It's one of those things where like if he didn't get ready for it, Vegeta would have just mollywopped him. Um, then for Frieza, Goku trained his ass off before that fight, and he still, excuse me, didn't have an easy fight against Frieza at all. For Cell, Goku doesn't even beat Cell. Goku actually loses against Cell, and then I mean technically he helps Gohan. He teams up with Gohan, but he dies. It's another thing where he doesn't like really good him. For Boo, I would argue that Hercule kind of beats Boo. Goku wouldn't have gotten enough energy for his Spirit Bomb if it wasn't for Hercule to be like, "Yo, everybody give him his energy." Beerus, Goku doesn't beat Beerus. Beerus just kind of gives up. He just kind of goes, "Okay, I had my fun," and then he just kind of fucks off. Um, Frieza. Goku beats Frieza, but it's due to Frieza not being familiar with how transformations work. Frieza's just pretty. He doesn't know that with attaining a new form, you have to train in said new form in order to get comfortable with it. Because all his other forms, I guess, were natural forms, so it's not the same as him unlocking Golden Frieza. Um, fuck. Okay, so then we got the Universe 6 tournament. It's the next Goku challenge. Goku kind of bullshits his way through the Universe 6 tournament. Well, no. He trains before that. He does actually train before that. And he does struggle a little bit because he technically lost to Frost. But then Frost was cheating, so it's whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. The Universe 6 tournament is a little weird. I think that's a little hand wavy. Um, Next up, we got the Future Trunks arc. Goku doesn't solve that. He doesn't win that fight either. I mean, he hits the Zeno button, but Zeno is the one who kind of beats Zamasu. Um, Tournament of Power is pretty much after Future Trunks arc. There's some filler, but Tournament of Power, Goku wins with the assistance of other people. It's definitely like a team effort thing. Goku doesn't win on his own. So I would say that in the end, a matter of fact, Android 17, I would say, is like the official winner of the Tournament of Power or whatever. Mm. So I'd say Goku is challenged a lot and doesn't really win a lot. You know what I mean? Where are we at? Where are we at now? We're getting somewhere. Godzilla said claws of a thief. Their Xenosaurus. Is that a real dinosaur? Kel said comment favorite fruit. Jet apples. Matt mine's mangoes. Jet Matt, I'm so confused. Please explain. So Matt would answer, all fruit is terrible. And then my favorite fruit, I like lemon juice covered grapes. They're pretty good. So I think that'll be my answer. Lemon juice covered grapes. Then Godzilla said, can goat heads be scary? I guess. Depends on the person. Then Matt said, that isn't what I'm saying at all. Well, I was asking you what were you saying, and then you were like, well, the last thing we talked about was Dragon Ball, so you should know what we're talking about. If I ask you what we're talking about, you just be straight. It clearly shows that I don't know. Godzilla said, and of course, it has magma scales and some lava on them. Matt, just go over to Nick and prove him wrong or something. Then Kel said, Hercule confirmed stronger than Boo. Dozer would be like, I approve this message. Let's see. Matt said Mr. Satan defeated Cell and Majin Buu. Also, Goku wasn't explicitly training to fight Frieza. Excuse me. He was training just because. That's not true. What are you talking about? Training just because. I don't think that's true at all. Don't you remember when Goku's on the spaceship that's heading to Namek? And it's like, hey, Goku, you gotta rush to Namek. Shit's going down. Lord Frieza. And he trains and he's continually increasing the gravity on the ship. Getting ready for Namek. A fight that he knows is gonna be like the hardest fight of his life. Some real talk shit. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Godzilla said, are you guys talking about big yellow hair anime? And then he said, again, this is a joke. Matt said, Cell is a similar scenario, since the 3 years was for the androids and not Cell. Although there is a slight argument for the day of the Room and Spirit and Time training. What do you mean there's a slight argument? The Room and Spirit and Time thing, the whole thing, is to like prepare Gohan to be stronger. Then Matt said Majin Buu was also not trained per se, since Goku, you mean not trained for, since Goku just trained because he died and effectively had no limits. Well, Goku also doesn't beat Majin Buu. You know what I mean? And then Matt said the only time Goku actually tried to prepare himself was for Vegeta. He prepared himself for Vegeta, and he prepared himself for Frieza. Goku helped train Gohan to handle the Cell situation. Um, he did not train for Buu. That's true. Goku was hyped for the World Martial Arts Tournament and shit like that, but he didn't train for Buu. Um, Goku didn't train for Beerus, really. He just kind of got a power boost to fight Beerus. Um, he didn't train for Frieza. He happened to already be training, just in general. Um, he trained for the Universe 6 tournament. I don't think Goku trained for Goku Black. Um, did Goku learn the Mafuba for Goku Black? That would be like the closest thing I could think of. He might have trained for Goku Black. I really don't remember. For the Tournament of Power, Goku goes around and recruits everybody, and I would argue that was kind of training, to be honest. That was a solid way to prepare, I would say, at the very least. Let's see. Godzilla said, I think we can all agree Jar Jar Binks is the strongest Jedi. Speaking of that, like Jedi, did you guys see the new Star Wars sneak peek thing for a Star Wars Skywalker saga or whatever? I wouldn't mind talking about that if you guys don't mind. Let's see. Matt said he couldn't have trained for Goku Black. Keep in mind, the Goku Black arc is told over a series of episodes, and it's not like it takes place in like a day or whatever. Goku even has a chance to fight Goku Black in the present before he travels into the future. So, I don't think it means that he couldn't have trained for Goku Black. He might have, I just don't remember if he did. Godzilla said, I'm trying to make people laugh, and I don't think it's working. It's hard to tell, only because we don't have everybody like in the same room where we can like see if people are laughing. Matt said Mafuba was a scenario where Goku just picked up the ability by watching it. Well, that's at least is something that fits Goku. That's something that he's done in the past with like the Kamehameha wave. Then Godzilla said, Nick, what do you think is funny? I like observational comedy. So I like it when people aren't trying to be funny. It's just something is pointed out about just normal everyday life. Maybe you hear someone say something funny or someone unintentionally does something funny. I think that normally is what makes me like laugh. Um, Matt said Dragon Ball is the only time though that Goku is actively training to defeat someone all the time. Are you sure it's an all the time thing? Also, could you step through it? Like step through all the different training things? To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Dragon Ball. I've seen um a lot of Red Ribbon Army stuff. I saw when they wished on the Dragon Balls for the first time, and when Goku went Great Ape in front of Bulma for the first time. But I know I got past that. But the part that I stopped on, well, I also saw the first World Martial Arts Tournament, where he fights Jackie Chun, which is just Roshi. But I don't think I ever saw past that. I don't think I got beyond that. And then Matt said he is always training for the World Tournament, and then for Piccolo, and multiple World Tournaments happen in original Dragon Ball. But there's stuff that he does before the World Tournaments. Keep in mind, the World Tournaments aren't like what Dragon Ball is all about. It's something that Toriyama did, and it helped Dragon Ball gain some popularity, and then he was like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing that. Let's see. Kel said, what's everyone's opinion on GT? Personally, he enjoyed it, but that's mostly because of nostalgia. So I like Dragon Ball GT, but I haven't seen a lot of the beginning of GT. I started at the Super Android 17 arc and went forward, and then I went backward. But I don't think I've seen all of the baby arc at all. Like, I don't think I sat through and watched all of that. So I think I've seen everything after the baby arc to the end of GT. Um, but I haven't seen baby arc backwards. I really like the Shadow Dragon arc. of Dragon Ball GT. It's probably the best arc. Also, the Super Android 17 arc is interesting to say the least. I really like that. It's essentially the Fusion Reborn movie, but done as an arc of the show. Um, but I feel like it works a lot better as an arc than as a movie. Even then, I still don't think the premise of Fusion Reborn has been done to its full potential, and I would really love to see them try to do Fusion Reborn again in continuity, and maybe they can make it better. Not necessarily the whole like Gogeta thing, but just the concept of hell is poured open and everybody that Goku and the gang has ever fought before is returning, and you could even give them some weird power boost. And it's like, oh, we gotta fight Cell again, but he's stronger than before, and we gotta fight all these other people. I just thought that was an interesting idea that they didn't do a lot with. They hint at stuff in Fusion Reborn and then don't do anything with it. Godzilla said, Jet, get your Gatorade water bottle out of the way of the screen. We need the Jet's video's bottom right corner reveal. Da-na-na-na. There you go. That's your reveal. And then Matt said, GT has novel ideas. Then Godzilla said, I hope you read this before you move the Gatorade. And Godzilla said, has anyone seen Invader Zim? I have not watched Invader Zim. Matt said, except for Goku Jr. Get him out of here. I mean, who knows? Goku Jr. could have been okay. I saw the event. Not, well, it was weird to say the event, but like the little special for Goku Jr. And I didn't think it was terrible. It just felt weird. I kind of want to see what Dragon Ball would be like further in the future in a world that actually feels futuristic. Dragon Ball already has a lot of technology that seems like future tech, like the capsules and the hover cars and the reality machine. Like, there's plenty of technology. There's a time machine in Dragon Ball. There's tons of sci-fi stuff. I want to see a non-dystopian future of Dragon Ball where all that technology has just gotten better. Um, because if Bulma in our time is like, yeah, I know how to like fix a time machine, and if Doctor Slump in our time is like, yeah, I can make a device that creates anything that you can imagine, then by the time Pan is like an adult, the world should just be insane. They should have tons of tech. Okay. Then Godzilla said Goku is a dad, and then Matt said yes, but not of Goku Jr. And Godzilla said okay. Kel said I really like Baby for a lot of reasons, mainly because he's a possession villain done right. Interesting. What do you think is a possession villain done wrong? Like, what is like your counter? Uh, then Godzilla said, "What the heck, guys? What's wrong, Godzilla?" Matt said, "Then I've got the entity for you. Dragon Ball Online does exactly that, and the plot of the game was thought about by Toriyama." I've heard about Dragon Ball Online. Um, is Dragon Ball Online canon at all to Xenoverse? Dragon Ball Online canon to Xenoverse? Question mark. Matt said no. Dunk, 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 dunk. Kel said the Goku Jr. thing represents that Dragon Ball goes on forever. Like, hey, it's over, but not really. Well, I think they could have executed it better. Then Godzilla said, remember when we played Jackbox? I do remember when we used to play Jackbox. Matt said, neither is Xenoverse, though. I know Xenoverse isn't canon to normal Dragon Ball. I'm asking if Dragon Ball Online is canon to Xenoverse. Because Xenoverse and Super Dragon Ball Heroes have, like, I'm pretty sure they're canon to each other. Like, those two things. So, hold on, I'm about to look that up. So, Dragon Ball Heroes canon to Xenoverse? Like, specifically to Xenoverse. I'm pretty sure Dragon Ball Heroes are in the same continuity. Let's see. Matt said Dragon Ball Online came out before Xenoverse. That doesn't mean that it can't be in the same world. Matt, that's what I'm saying. Godzilla said, Jet, what if you made a game show and the winner gets nothing? That's essentially what Jackbox is. Matt said, also, they are not canon to each other. Did you look it up? I'm looking it up. Someone on Quora said Dragon Ball Heroes slash Xenoverse is its own story. Are you sure that Xenoverse and Heroes are not the same? Because I wouldn't be surprised. A matter of fact, Xeno Goku is straight up just a thing from Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Is that not just the Goku from Xenoverse? Like, is it not just referring to that one? Xeno Goku is an incarnation of Goku from a world separate to the main timeline, who is a member of the Time Patrol. See, I don't know the difference. Matt said Heroes and Xenoverse might be canon to each other. That's what I've been saying. He said, I was saying that Xenoverse is not canon to online. Now, how do you know that Xenoverse isn't canon to online, though? Because that's what I want to figure out. Then Godzilla said, Kaiju? Then Godzilla said, wait, I'm confused. Oh, what's wrong? We can try and help you with that confusion. So, if you check out GameFAQs, which isn't the best source, they say elements of Dragon Ball Online's lore are used in Xenoverse, which I've heard of that before. I think that's part of the reason why I was like, is it canon to that universe? So I guess Dragon Ball Online may not be canon to Xenoverse, but helped inspire concepts that were then used in Xenoverse. Matt said, you should be. Jet is trying to make dumb relations. But they're not dumb relations. It seems like Xenoverse takes direct inspiration from Dragon Ball Online. Then Godzilla said, what the heck is happening, guys? And he said, okay, thanks, Matt. Excuse me. Kel said, I really don't like possession villains, because to me, it's like the writer couldn't come up with a unique power. Same goes with evil clones. So that's not what I think of with possession not videos, villains. To me, possession villains kind of exist for you to be able to have characters who would normally not fight each other. So if you want two villains to fight each other, but normally the two villains would just team up, you could be like, the villain was possessed by a good guy, and the good guy is now using the villain in order to stop the other villains. Or you can be like, these two heroes would normally never fight. So the hero got possessed by a bad guy, and the bad guy is using the hero to fight the other heroes. To me, that makes sense. You know, it's a way for you to have the characters fight when they normally just wouldn't have a reason to. With evil clones, so I'm not a big fan of evil clones either. I'll be with you on that. I feel like it's done a lot. I feel like there are interesting ways to do it though. Evil clones doesn't always have to be the same thing. For example, for Action Teens on Machines, aka Atom, ATOM, for its second season, they're fighting evil clones essentially, but they're evil clones who have their own unique powers. So it's like each member of the team has a clone who's spliced with an animal. So they have the same abilities as the person they're the clone of, plus they have extra powers and abilities. And they have their own vehicles and everything that sets them apart. I think that's cool. You can have a character who's very similar to, as like being a double to a character, while still making them unique and giving them their own thing. Let's see. Then Matt said elements does not mean canonicity. And I agree with that. I feel like the elements are part of the reason why I was like, are they canon? And that's why I looked into it. I can't say I've looked into it super deep. I just looked at this one GameFAQs post. But people say different things like yes and no, and da na 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 na. So it's kind of all over the place. But at the very least, elements from online are in Zooniverse. Bare minimum. Let's see. Godzilla said, "What if all 1.2K subscribers unsub from Nick all at the same time? Then they would all have unsubbed at the same time." I feel like the question answers itself. Matt said, "When do good guys ever have possession powers?" Deadman. That's Deadman's whole thing. DC superhero. He's a ghost. He has to possess people to do stuff. That's like his only power, really. There you go. Godzilla said, "When Jet makes an original universe." Oh, well, if you guys are interested in stuff that I make, find out about. I'm about to finish up Superpower Battles Volume 7. It's a series of books that I've been working on. I write a story for Superpower Battles every day, and every 4 stories makes up a new volume. So I'll be finishing up the 4th story of Volume 7 tonight and submitting it for publishing soon. Let's see. Matt said also possession powers are generally lazy, specifically because of the scenario you were explaining. Matt said Dark Pit is a pretty good evil clone. So I like possession powers that have a little bit more of an extra oomph. Like Venom is essentially a character who, as a symbiote, can just possess different people. But when the Venom symbiote possesses you, it's not just like you're under the direct control of Venom. It's kind of like you become a new character. Like Venom is like a personality in your head, and you are still kind of you. But Venom is twisting you and making you more angry and aggressive and more likely to fight other people and make you want to eat people and stuff like that, while also enhancing whatever powers you already have. So let's say if the Thing from the Fantastic Four was possessed by the Venom symbiote, the Thing would have augmented powers. Like he would gain more powers than he would have normally as the Thing. But he also would be more aggressive, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm like, I want to eat people, but I don't want to eat people, and oh, Spider-Man's here, and the Venom symbiote hates Spider-Man. I can't resist. I gotta fight him." There's a lot more going on. It's not just direct mind control. It's kind of like a heavy influence, but it also helps give the character more. You know what I mean? I think that's a cool part of at least Venom, as like an example. Kel said, "I think there are better ways to make characters that wouldn't usually fight each other," and I understand that. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying I feel like in a lot of cases, that's what ends up happening with possession characters. They end up being used specifically to have matchups that you wouldn't normally see. Because whenever a possession character takes over a villain, you're like, "Oh, well, the hero probably would have just fought the villain anyways." And the villain isn't going to be like, "Oh no, I wish I wasn't fighting Spider Man. If only I was not fighting Spider Man, but I'm being forced to." There's less conflict when a possession character possesses someone who would have willingly fought somebody anyways. Let's see. Where we at though? Godzilla said, "Now I gotta draw this demon in MS Paint." Ooh, MS Paint. Matt said, "I agree, Kels. Motivation should be what caused characters to fight each other, even if characters have similar moral codes." Kels said, "I think this is the first time Matt said he agrees with someone." And then Matt said, "Literally who?" Then, then Matt said, "Nobody knows who Deadman is." David actually is a fan of Deadman. David is one of my only friends who gets super hyped for Deadman. My dad hates Deadman. He thinks he has a stupid design. He's not a fan of Deadman as a character. I'm more or less in the middle. I don't know a lot about Deadman. I don't really think about Deadman that much. But that's like a big part of what he does is that he possesses people. And then Matt said, "So that doesn't count as a good example." Just because you don't know who someone is doesn't make them a bad example. I just named multiple other people who know who Deadman is. Kel said Venom is a good possession guy because it's more interesting than just says in a mocking voice, I'm evil now. Matt said most possession characters use the generic possession scheme, and that is generally bad, unless it's used as a leverage point in a decent way. I'm actually partial to how Bucky is done in MCU. Well, Bucky isn't being possessed. He's more or less under like the influence of mental programming or whatever. Also, we hit an hour. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. It's yours, friend, your boy, Jeff, like the one only logging out. Peace out.